Recently, the Dalai Lama was speaking at an event, and a young boy came up to speak to the Dalai Lama closely, and the Dalai Lama started to interact with the boy, you know, talk to him, smile, go back and forth, yada yada. And eventually he started sticking out his tongue, and then he said the words, "Suck my tongue," as in like he was telling the boy to like suck on his tongue, like he was gonna French kiss him or something. And it was really weird, it was really creepy, it was very uncomfortable, it wasn't appropriate, it was in front of a lot of people, which made it even weirder, because this wasn't like some leaked file of like the Dalai Lama is like behind closed doors doing this weird thing. He did it in front of a large crowd of people and in front of like TV cameras, which is also part of the reason why I want to like grant so much charitability, even though other people don't, is because I find it unbelievably hard to believe that a major religious figure would do this on purpose, as if like they were willing for the world to see them like this. Anyway, let's watch the clip. It makes me uncomfortable, but we have to watch it for context. The Dalai Lama apologized after unsettled. Thank you, Guardian. After an unsettling video appeared on social media in which he kissed a young Indian boy on the lips before asking him to suck his tongue. He holds the boy's face as they briefly kiss, then they press their foreheads together. Just as the boy goes to pull away, the Dalai Lama instructs him, "And suck my tongue," prompting him to slowly inch forward, and the 87-year-old outstretched tongue. Oh, God. Some supporters of the Dalai Lama sprang to his defense, claiming their leader was simply joking around. But the uncomfortable video has sparked widespread outrage across social media. Ah, God, man. Before letting the child go, the Dalai Lama imparts some wisdom, telling him to look to those good human beings who create peace and happiness, and not to follow those human beings who always kill other people. Okay, that's a weird piece of wisdom. Like, the first half I was kind of like following it, like, oh yeah, peace and happiness, and don't follow the murderers. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that is worldly advice, I guess, but maybe a little too worldly, right? Be like, don't follow genocidal maniac. I don't know, a little simple, you know? I feel like I could have gotten better advice from a fortune cookie, but whatever. So obviously this made me and a lot of other people very uncomfortable. First off, obviously you should not be French kissing little boys. Obviously you should not be doing this, in period. And he did it in front of like a giant crowd of people, but not only a crowd of people, but again, in front of a bunch of video cameras. And this is all very confusing because I don't know why he did this. A lot of people don't know why he did it. And so I tried to like find an explanation, because I saw a lot of people just jumping to the conclusion that the Dalai Lama is a pedophile. And I gotta be honest, I don't think I'm willing to so easily accept that such a major religious figure, who, as far as I know, has no prior history in their 87 years of doing anything that is of an abusive nature towards children in that way. I didn't think I wasn't so quickly ready to accept he was a pedophile. And so I did a little bit of digging, and I was able to find some things that could have given an explanation, and I did post this on Twitter. Twitter was not as kind to me when I tried to give some explanations as to trying to find it out, because I wasn't so like willing to accept right off the bat that the Dalai Lama wants to like touch kids. You know, again, major religious figure means a whole lot to millions of people around the world. Just giving it a little bit of thought and care here. Very sorry about that. The first thing I was able to find, which I think anybody would be able to find by looking at the Dalai Lama for like 5 seconds, is he's a very old foreign man. English is not his first language. He's 87 years old. And so I do think that it could have been lost in translation. What exactly lost in translation? Well, the only thing that I could even vaguely try to like tie to this to figure it out was that in Tibetan culture, there is a tradition where as one Tibetan greets another Tibetan, or it's just like a greeting in the same way you like wave your hand or say hello, that you stick out your tongue, right? You stick out your tongue. Now, to be clear, there's nothing in there about sucking someone's tongue. There's nothing in there about touching someone's tongue, as far as I'm aware. It's purely just sticking out your tongue. So that's why it's like there's multiple layers to it. It would have to be, number one, there was this cultural difference between the Dalai Lama and Tibetan culture and the rest of the world when it comes to sticking out the tongue, and him being an 87-year-old where English was most certainly not his first language, him trying to express this idea like stick out your tongue, engage in this traditional Tibetan greeting, and he said suck your tongue because maybe he didn't know the words for stick out or whatever it is. But that's the only explanation I can think of. Besides that, I have no clue. I just find it very hard to believe that one of the leaders of the world's religions on TV, on like televised, like on like TV, in front of cameras in a gigantic crowd, was willing to engage in such, quite frankly, inappropriate behavior, no matter his intention. The interaction was inappropriate. I mean, if I didn't know the proper words in Ukrainian for like some action, and then I told a child to do something inappropriate with me, that would still be wrong, no matter what level of like oops, lost in translation it is. So that's the only explanation I can think of. Other than that, it seems that everybody else just thinks the Dalai Lama is a pedophile, which I don't know if I'm as willing to accept. I would think I would have to find like more evidence. It's just like a very bold claim, right? It's a very bold claim. I would have to find more evidence. It's like, for example, Joe Biden has interacted with people in a very inappropriate manner before, including now even on occasions children, where he'll like uncomfortably like touch them on the back, or uncomfortably like, you know, the idea of like Joe Biden being a hair sniffer. But there's nothing that has been brought forward that seems to indicate that Joe Biden is a pedophile, outside of just like an old man who gets like uncomfortably casual with children. I don't know if the word's casual, uncomfortably close with children. And I tend to think that's probably the same case here in the Dalai Lama's instance. But I really don't know. All I'm doing is swinging in the dark and trying to get to a conclusion where the Dalai Lama, like, isn't, you know? Because that's something I don't really want to accept. And I don't think there's enough evidence to point to that so far. I want to be somewhat good faith here. Good faith Andy, okay? I'm trying to be good faith Andy. Either way, weird, awkward, inappropriate, shouldn't have happened. I don't know why nobody was handling the Dalai Lama better here. Like, I know that when he's up at this level of age and he has this much influence in a world religion, not only as a religious figure, but even someone as a political figure, you would imagine there'd be somebody like over his shoulder kind of like handling him. But I don't know, man. I guess that isn't the case. How would it not have happened by now? That's the other thing, right? I always feel like people slip up, and I don't know if it would take him 87 years to slip up, and he would do it in front of a camera and a gigantic crowd. That's the other thing that doesn't seem to be convincing me very much. What's this? Ah, oh God, no, get that off my screen. I don't care if that proves my point. That's really weird. Oh my God, that's so. Was that Putin kissing that boy? Okay, I don't even. Jesus Christ, I don't know what it is with world leaders and interacting with children inappropriately. It feels like world leaders just refuse on any like basic human level to have a normal interaction with other human beings. Nah, man, the Dalai Lama is a pedophile, my uncle told me. Oh, well, your uncle is known as a very deep and researched expert on the Dalai Lama. I can't argue with that. Can we not just give Putin the benefit of the doubt? He's an important world leader. Look, the thing is, I don't think Putin's a pedophile either for doing that. I just think that, you know, world leaders and people of power tend to be kind of freaks. Can I say that as well? Tend to be freaks, tend to be awkward, socially awkward, tend to not really know boundaries, tend to interact with people in inappropriate ways. You know, if you really want to rule over the world, right? If you want to be an extremely powerful and influential person, you're not like the average person. If you want to be president, you're not like Joe Schmo at the club. Usually, at the end of the day, that isn't the case. If you want to be president, you're usually not a normal person. If you want to be a dictator of a country like Vladimir Putin, you're not going to be a normal person. That's for the very least. Anyway, moving on. The Dalai Lama did end up apologizing for this. They posted it on his official Twitter account. He is getting dragged on Twitter. No matter what the Dalai Lama message of peace is, I don't. It seems that Twitter has not accepted that message of peace. A video clip has been circulating that shows a recent meeting when a young boy asked His Holiness the Dalai Lama if he could give him a hug. His Holiness wishes to apologize to the boy and his family, as well as his many friends across the world, for the hurt his words may have caused. His Holiness often teases people he meets in an innocent and playful way, even in public and before cameras. He regrets the incident. Then there was 2 context added portions to this tweet from twitter.com. First off, saying the teasing that Dalai Lama is referring to is from where he asked a boy to suck his tongue. And then another comment was, though sticking out one's tongue is a Tibetan form of respect, that doesn't involve sucking. So again, I feel like this wasn't really enough of an explanation. Just like, oh, he was having fun. In what way? Like if it was just like, oh, you know, it was lost in translation, you know, go into a little bit more detail and say that. Oh, you know, he was trying to get across this Tibetan, you know, greeting, and he used this word when he should have used that word, and English isn't his first language, and he's 87 years old. Like, God, like, you know, say that. You know, go into a little bit more detail, considering this is probably the most public attention the Dalai Lama has gotten online in a while, at least in my spheres. I mean, I don't pay too much attention to the Dalai Lama. I don't know terribly too much about the Dalai Lama or Tibetan religions. I am not a very religious man when it comes to the Tibetan faith. But I feel like they could have gone into a little bit more detail here, considering the amount of attention he is getting from all corners of the internet and the news space as well, because this was getting covered by CNN. I mean, if we look this up, I mean, this has to be just like the worst headlines in a while for the Tibetan religion. 1 second. Dalai Lama. Let's see what all the headlines say. NPR. The Dalai Lama apologizing for asking a young boy to suck his tongue. Jesus Christ. Dalai Lama apologizes after kissing boy on the lips. See, the Daily Mail reeled it in hardcore. They took out a lot of information there. What's the next one? BBC. Dalai Lama regrets asking boy to suck my tongue. The Guardian. Dalai Lama apologizes after kissing boy and asking him to suck his tongue. CNN. Dalai Lama apologizes after video asking child to suck tongue. Sparks outcry. And then there's a bunch of others from like DW News, from the Washington Post, Newsweek, Sky News, The Conversation. You get the idea. The Independent. So this is the most coverage the Dalai Lama has gotten in a very long time. I can't remember the last time he's gotten this much coverage. Again, I'm not really a Lama watcher. Is that what they call him? I know there's like, you know, people who like follow the royal family very closely. Do people do the same thing with the Dalai Lama? I don't really know. But I don't really follow him too closely. But this is the first time I've heard news of the Dalai Lama in a very, very long time, like maybe 5 or 6 years. And this is the type of attention he's getting. Gotta say, Dalai Lama not being the best representative of his faith or his cause, and not really dragging any new believers into the faith, huh? My goodness. So weird. So weird, man. So weird. I thought he was dead, to be honest. Wait, what do you mean you thought he was dead? Like, you just thought he'd like die? Like, nobody knew? I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's true. Like, if you aren't hearing about the Dalai Lama, I guess you could just assume that he's dead, huh? I wasn't sure if he was still alive. It seems that multiple people in chat thought the Dalai Lama was literally dead. Let me turn over the site chat. I'm paying too much attention to gutter chat right now. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me otherwise. Fuck that ratio. Yeah, the ratio on the Dalai Lama tweet. Can we just see what the people were saying in response to the Dalai Lama? Let's see. His horny My goodness. Oh my god. No, see, this is okay. That's better. My goodness. Let's see what else we got here. Lol, nobody is buying what you're selling with that tweet. Keep it. There's nothing innocent about what the Dalai Lama did, and if you think so, maybe you're also a weirdo. His pedophileness. My goodness, man. Oh my god. I couldn't imagine being a follower of the Tibetan religion right now, man. Dude, could you imagine following a religion? Like your whole life, like just dedicating your life to it. And then the major religious figure of your religion just goes on in front of a cameras and tells a young boy to do this. Oh my god. I couldn't imagine how that would feel. Anyway, I don't really have much more to say on this. Dalai Lama needs better handlers. What's your favorite Pantera song? Probably Walk. That was a very random gutter check question. Somebody just said that's being Catholic. Okay. There is a difference between individual priests doing some weird stuff and the Pope doing some weird stuff. As far as I know, the Pope has never been caught for doing that type of weird stuff, at least not in the modern times, in the last like 100, 200 years. I think maybe like 300, 400 years ago maybe, but not in modern times. Right? This is a little different than like a few individual priests. Obviously the moral culpability is different because one, we're talking about children like we know are molested, and one, we're talking about an extremely uncomfortable and inappropriate verbal interaction between the Dalai Lama and a young boy. But still, it's very different than individual priests and the head of the church itself. Priests and pastors do worse daily. That is true. No popes, just like 150,000 cardinals and priests. True. Oh, no. Do I miss your take on the Dalai Lama? You did miss my take on the Dalai Lama. As everyone knows, I endorsed everything he is. No, I'm kidding. Of course I'm kidding. It's a systematic issue with the Catholic Church, but I won't belabor the point. True. That's also true, because there was like a massive cover-up operation, right? Where they took priests who did abuse and they just moved them to other locations where they didn't do abuse in order to cover up the crimes that they committed, which is pretty different than what we just saw here.
Is a curd.